Hello and welcome. I see Ashley from Dove Healthcare. Thanks so much for being here, Ashley. And I'm seeing Stacy Kopp. Welcome aboard, Stacy. And Deb and Jennifer. Thank you all so much for being here. We're going to get started in just a few minutes here. I'm seeing some more folks pop in here. Thank you so much everyone for being here. We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. It's 1:27 right now, so just give everybody a chance to get signed on. And I'm seeing some more phone numbers popping in. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. So just hang tight. And I see a hand raised. Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. Did you want to maybe type your question or comment into the Q&A box, and I can help you with the question that you might have. I'll send you a message in chat too. Oh, I see Carrie popping in. Hi, Carrie. Welcome aboard. We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm seeing a few more people pop in. It's 1:30, so I think we should just go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome to the WisCaregiver Careers Implementation webinar. My name is Kate Badiato, and I am the WisCaregiver Careers Project Manager for our 2021 relaunch. I'm also the Director of Workforce Development for the Wisconsin Healthcare Association and the Wisconsin Center for Assisted Living. And I am so excited for the opportunity to roll out WisCaregiver Careers statewide with you. This implementation webinar is customized to our WisCaregiver employers in the Southwest, West, Central, and Southeast regions of the state, because today we will feature information specific to our FSET partnerships in these regions. With me today from Workforce Connections is, and representing the West Central region of the state are Gina Brown, Erica Deal, and Faith Oliver. And representing the Southeastern region, we have Bobby Nash from Equus. They will fill us in on what our FSET partnership will mean to you in terms of CNA applicant referrals and job retention support that they'll provide to our WisCaregivers. Thank you all so much for being here. Please know that our goal is to make this program as easy to use and as beneficial as possible to you and your staffing needs. We very much value your feedback and want to hear from you about how the program is going for you and your teams, whether it's good or bad. My program partners and I really value your on-the-ground insights, and we'll do everything we can to act on the feedback that you provide. I'll be providing our contact information at the end of today's presentation, so please know that we're only ever a phone call or an email away to assist you with any questions, comments, or concerns. Let's get started. Here's our agenda for today. Our goal for today is to build or expand upon your understanding of what WisCaregiver Careers is all about, and to understand the roles and expectations for your involvement. We'll walk you through a program overview, then provide details on our partnership with FSET. Next, we'll cover everything you need to know to receive your reimbursement for training and certification testing expenses, and we'll end with Q&A. So here's our program overview. WisCaregiver Careers is a workforce development program designed to address the CNA shortage in Wisconsin nursing homes by providing free training, free certification testing, and $500 sign-on or retention bonuses. The program seeks to encourage new workers to enter the field of caregiving by lowering the cost of becoming a CNA and by making training more readily accessible. The program pays for the free training and testing while the employers pay for the bonuses. So here's our program goals, and these are the minimum program outcomes that must be attained in order for us to comply with our grant requirements. We would actually love to see all 500 people who start the training complete it and go on to become certified and work in Wisconsin nursing homes. But these are the minimums that we're held to from our Wisconsin Fast Forward grant, and they have an impact on our ability to reimburse for training expenses. Take, for instance, this 425 number. What this means is that we can fund only 75 trainees who fail or withdraw from training across the entire program. This means that we need to limit our reimbursement of withdrawn and failed trainees to a maximum of 15% of the trainees that you might happen to invoice. This means that we can only reimburse one failed or withdrawn trainee for every 6 who complete training. This 319 number means that we can reimburse up to 106 trainees who finish training but do not go on to attain their CNA certification. Keep this in mind as you are working with your WisCaregivers and thinking about how to go about doing your invoicing. Again, working with your WisCaregivers as they go through training. So a little background information about how the program is administered. WHCA is taking the lead on program administration and administers the program's finances through a $400,000 Wisconsin Fast Forward grant, which we were awarded last summer by the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development, and through a $77,000 civil money penalties reinvestment program grant, which was awarded last month through CMS and the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. I'd like to take this opportunity to draw your attention to some nuances of our funding structure in order to put some of our program features into context. The first is that our Wisconsin Fast Forward grant carries a 50% matching requirement, meaning that for every dollar released from the grant, we must provide 50 cents of outside funding. Our CMP grant covers only 40% of the matching funds that we need, and we are looking to our program partners to help us make up the rest. I'll be getting into more detail on this as we go along, but again, I wanted you to understand why we are designing the program the way we are. So here's some important information I wanted to share with you about how we're structuring the program. Our first program update will provide you much more flexibility in terms of your candidate sourcing methods. WisCaregivers can now be sourced from any method, not exclusively through FSET. This means that your existing employees can participate if they're interested in becoming a CNA, and you can use your existing community sourcing methods, such as your recruitment portal, your relationships with local high schools. Any CNA recruitment that works for you is acceptable to WisCaregiver Careers. Our second program update also provides more flexibility in terms of when the $500 bonuses are paid. Now, in addition to the 6-month retention bonus options, employers have the option of providing a sign-on bonus instead. We've built this added flexibility in large part to help employers meet the matching funds needs we have for our Wisconsin Fast Forward grant. Which brings me to our most significant program update, which is our employer matching funds contributions. We understand that each employer structures its training and hiring processes a bit differently, and so we've tried to lay out 2 models for you to consider. Remember that our goal is to make this program work for you, however you structure your program. So if these 2 example models don't fit well with your process, I encourage you to contact me so that we might brainstorm another path forward for your facility. So here's a visual overview of how the wage model works. To use wages paid to trainees as your form of matching funds, the hiring occurs first, followed by the training. The trainees are paid a trainee wage while in training. This $390 figure here equates to 50% of a full WisCaregiver Careers reimbursement amount of $780, which is composed of our $655 training reimbursement plus our $125 testing reimbursement. If the WisCaregivers earn more than $390 during training, that's great. But the minimum amount of matching funds that we need in order to reimburse that full amount is $390. An important nuance with the wage model is that trainees must receive a wage increase upon certification to be considered as an employment placement under Fast Forward. It can be very modest in size, and even 25 cents is acceptable. Under this model, you would invoice your trainees after certification. You would not need to wait. When you pay the bonus would not factor into your reimbursement process because your matching funds are your trainee wages. Now, here's a visual overview of the bonus model. Under the bonus model, the WisCaregivers can be hired before or after certification. In this this model that's shown here, they're being hired before certification, but it would be equally acceptable if you wanted to do your training like as a large community event where it's open to anybody who's interested, and then you do your hiring after the certification is complete. That would also work in this model. Under this model, the invoicing happens after you pay the bonus. Now you can do that. The main drawback to using the retention bonus in this model is that your reimbursement would be delayed 6 months, though that is still an option. These 2, and like I mentioned before, these 2 models are by no means the only configurations of the training to employment pipeline that could work for WisCaregiver Careers. And if you feel like these models as we've laid them out don't work for your hiring process, again, reach out to me and I'm happy to work with you to try to find a process that's going to work. So a little bit more info about our $500 bonus. The $500 bonus is one of our key program features and employer responsibilities. And here are some important details. First off, the WisCaregiver employers agree to pay WisCaregivers a $500 bonus regardless of whether they work full-time or part-time. For the purposes of this program, full-time is defined as 32 or more hours per week, and part-time is defined as fewer than 32 hours per week. It's important to note that the program does not pay for the bonuses. By participating in the program, the nursing home agrees to pay the bonus. Finally, in the interest of fairness, we ask that you provide the same amount of bonus to WisCaregivers as you would provide to any other CNA hired at the same time, with a minimum of $500. So for instance, if you're offering a $750 bonus at the time a WisCaregiver is hired, you should also provide the WisCaregiver a $750 bonus. We don't want the WisCaregivers to lose out on $250 just by participating in this program. Now, since the $500 minimum is still in effect, if you're offering, say, a $250 bonus at the time a WisCaregiver is hired, you would still need to provide the $500 bonus to the WisCaregiver. You also have the option of paying the bonus at sign-on or at 6-month mark. We just ask that the bonus be paid in full to the WisCaregiver by that 6-month mark. And this would apply if your sign-on bonuses are paid out in installments over a series of months. So moving right along to our FSET partnership. This is one part of the WisCaregiver Careers program that just really excites me, because I feel like it offers a lot of potential to employers long after the end of WisCaregiver Careers. FSET in particular is how our entry point into these wonderful agencies that we're going to be hearing from. But the great thing about them is that they often administer other programs, which we'll hear more about as we hear from Erica and Bobby. But with FSET, which is really our key relationship, is the Food Share Employment and Training Program. It's a free program that helps job seekers find meaningful and successful work. And there are all these 11 different regions of the state, each of which is covered by a different service agency. So that's in part why we are doing these implementation webinars on a geographical basis. So our goal for our FSET partnerships is to create this lasting supportive relationship between your facilities and your local FSET agencies. They can support you with staffing leads, and then they can also provide support to barriers to help your new hires overcome barriers to employment, which I'm sure all of you have had experience with in working with CNAs. So FSET will refer candidates to you, but we also want to create these two-way pipelines of referrals, both from FSET to you as an employer, but then also as an employer, if you are working with your staff and you're noticing that they're having barriers to employment, you can also draw upon this relationship with your FSET service provider to support your already hired employees. Now, this pipeline is known as a reverse referral, and though FSET might not always be the end stop for the individual that you're trying to help, by connecting your employees with your partners at FSET, they can perform eligibility screenings and point them in the right direction for other community resources or other programs, even if FSET might not be eligible for FSET per se. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Erica. Erica, thank you so much again for being with us and letting us know all about the great resources from Workforce Connections.
Well, we thank you for having us as well. My name is Erica Deal. I'm a job developer for our FSET W2 and WIOA program. I'm also a career planner for our WISE Title V program. So our mission, I've put up on the screen. We connect people, work, and training. But to kind of expand on that, we do that by impacting the community by collaborating to address workforce development needs, believing every individual deserves every opportunity to reach their full potential, promoting meaningful work to achieve independence and self-sufficiency. We provide education and training to reach potential and personal fulfillment. So just a little bit of history. Workforce Connections is a private, nonprofit, community-based 501c3 organization that has been providing employment and training services in Western Wisconsin since 1983. The next slide we do have at a glance. So just a brief touch on the services and the programs that we have. WIOA is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And we provide connections to training support services. Individualized services are available to overcome employment barriers. And in this program, we do serve adults as well as dislocated workers that are pursuing employment full-time. The next we have is the W2 program, which is the Wisconsin Works program. This is available to parents, both custodial and non-custodial, with minor children that will meet the financial criteria. W-2 provides unpaid work experiences at nonprofit and for-profit businesses. We also provide the GED, HSED classes. We provide assessments and support with transportation and childcare assistance. The next that we've talked about earlier was the Food Share, the FSET program. Food Share Employment and Training. This is a voluntary program for all Food Share members age 16 and older. They want to help them with job building skills and finding employment. FSET also provides unpaid work experience at nonprofit and for-profit businesses. The FGP is the Foster Grandparents Program. This provides elementary classrooms with tutors age 55 and better in the counties of La Crosse, Juneau, Jackson, Pepin, and Buffalo. So the real focus of this grant is to increase student reading, math skills, and really to foster a social and emotional growth with the children. The openings in the following school districts are Black River Falls, Mauston, Necedah, Onalaska, and La Crosse. So the WISE program is the Wisconsin Senior Employment Program. We provide paid on-the-job training to the Wisconsin residents age 55 and better, unemployed, living on a limited income. WISE provides meaningful work experience in a community-based organization. So we would take what's called host agencies that are nonprofit organizations and provide them with the work experience that they have to expand on. This experience helps to develop and improve skills necessary for permanent employment if they are in need of that. Our emergency assistance, or EA, provides eligible individuals that are about to become homeless or are homeless with financial assistance. So the next slide, I do have the benefits from our programming that I've listed here. And our career planners provide support to participants by assisting job seekers with establishing the career goals and how to obtain training. Our career planners will help with establishing barriers such as childcare, transportation, and for example, if they were to get, a CNA certification and they need help with scrubs, any work attire, we could assist with that as well. We do look at co-enrollments that help with training and gaining supportive services. So we do look to other programs within our organization to help with that, as well as our partners within our service areas. Workforce Connections also provides resume building, interviewing skills, online application skills as well. So the benefits for our participants should be our next slide. We've listed just a few here. I really want to establish the initial connection with the participant. Our career planners provide immediate support in establishing employment needs and supportive on a case-to-case basis. So they work hard to determine the person's barriers and really work with them, the initial meeting. Lots of times the person has been laid off. They don't know where to turn. And I think our career planners really do a nice job of helping them and not just treating them as a number, but helping them with their barriers and making sure that they have an individualized plan to success. So our collaboration with businesses, up here we do strive to establish partnerships. For example, let's say a nursing home has a new applicant who has, some barriers. They would need CNA training, refer them to us. And I could be the point of contact. So I'm listed on this slide, and I would be happy to answer any questions and address any needs that you may have. So the benefits to employers. Participants with workforce connections and businesses both become invested in the employee's success. Also, on the flip side, we welcome incumbent workers who may need that extra training to improve on their knowledge, skills, and abilities. We also support certifications. We do partner with local colleges on getting degrees and specific training. If you have an applicant who might be a perfect fit for your business, but maybe needs that extra push, we can work with you to set up a training plan. Also, goals that help that individual gain skills needed to be successful. And then we keep in contact with you as a business to make sure that not only the employee has success, but you have success as well. We also provide the latest open positions with our partnering employers on a weekly basis. So really we really work on retaining that relationship. And we really think that that's important to offer our participants as well, a good shot at a good position and self-sufficiency. So I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Erica. It's so great to hear about the different services that you provide, and it just really goes to show, at least what's popping out to me most in your presentation, is the more that employers are able to engage with workforce connections and your team, providing those different job openings so that their vacancies are being promoted on a weekly basis, and just having more of those connections. I feel like the more involved the employers are, the more they get out of the relationship. So we
do draw in our partners under the Job Center. So we do include our partners. Any opportunities, we want to share that. And that only opens up, the availability, the open positions, and, getting the workforce in a good place.
And I can see, like, with the work that you were mentioning, that the job develop or the job coaches, like the
career planners,
yep. That they can do a lot of the legwork in terms of pre-screening good fit candidates, by understanding, okay, these are the different background check disqualifications that we need to talk about. And I know that you guys don't run the background check per se, but can have those conversations, and the assessment and skills baseline kind of measurements that you guys do can really help direct the right candidates to the jobs. They're kind of, you kind of weed out the ones that are not going to be a good fit for whatever reason, whether it be background or skills.
It's really providing guidance too, for these job seekers who may think, well, I'm only set for this career, but there's a wide open, there's many opportunities available that maybe they didn't think of. We do also do assessments that can pare down interests, skills, and maybe they hadn't even thought of, oh, I'm a great caregiver because I used to take care of my grandmother. But all I need to do is a CNA, and I would like to start that career path. So that's, really, initially, that's what we like to help with.
Great. Yeah. And the more those, interest, skills, and abilities can line up with the job at hand, the more successful the relationship's going to be for the employee and the employer. So we just really appreciate all that hard work that you and your team puts in. And with that, we can get that relationship going with our attendees today. And so, so just to kind of wrap up for this region of the state, which is the western, kind of central western section of our state, I just want to go over the training providers that have signed up to participate in WisCaregiver. So we've got these 2 locations. Now, if any of the employers on this call have other training providers that they like to work with that they don't see listed on the slide, I'm always more than happy to perform outreach to any of your preferred training providers to get them on board. I'll also be mentioning a little later about how we can support you if you don't have an in-house CNA training program but are interested in starting one. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Bobby to hear all about Equus and the services that you provide in the southeastern corner of the state.
Thank you very much, Kate, and thank you, Erica. So we provide, Equus Workforce Solutions provides, we're the FSET provider for Kenosha, Racine, Walworth, Waukesha, Washington, and Ozaki. We go on to the next slide, Kate. We were formerly known as WisCare Workforce Services. We recently rebranded last year to Equus Workforce Solutions. So the rebranding was a challenge with COVID and doing everything virtually, but we managed through it. We are one of the nation's largest comprehensive providers of workforce solutions and services, contract holders throughout the nation. And you guys can read the slide here, but one of the things I like to just mention is that because we are a large company, we're based out of Louisville, Kentucky, but we operate this contract as like a small local project, and we're all here from the area. We live and work in the area, and we're all very passionate about the jobs that we do here, and we're given a lot of autonomy on how we do the job, and we have a great relationship with DHS here in the state. And so we're even though we are a large company, we kind of buck the trend on what those initial thoughts might be about a large company coming in to do the job. We are given a lot of autonomy on how to do the job, and we like to think that we've been doing a pretty decent one at that. If you go on to the next slide, Kate. So right now we do have offices located throughout the 6 counties. We are co-located in many job centers, and we do have satellite offices. We have about 45 staff members that are sprinkled throughout. Like I said, currently we are working virtually, but we are just this past July, we started working ourselves back into the office. So it's a struggle readjusting the schedules, but we're excited about being back in the saddle and engaging with both employers and the job seekers in a face-to-face capacity. So one of the neat things about our jobs is that we like to consider ourselves jack of all trades, maybe master of none, but jack of all trades for sure. And I think Erica kind of touched on this. One of the things that we do, not only do we work with the FSET program, but our company also holds a sister contract for W2. We also operate a different contract in Milwaukee, the Transform Milwaukee Jobs, a WIOA program in Milwaukee as well. And our company also holds a contract for Job Corps there in Milwaukee. So we have a large footprint, and we do talk amongst each other, but we all operate independently, and we draw upon each other's skills and strengths and resources. So it's neat to have that ability to have somebody nearby in the family that you can kind of reach out to answer questions for you. But we also really believe strongly in the collaboration with other workforce agencies such as DWD and many of the local workforce boards. So if you have a question, we just really strongly encourage you to either ask us or ask somebody at your local job center. I was recently on a call with the regional HR for Meyer, and she just flat out offered that Wisconsin does it best. She was very frustrated in dealing with DWD in Indiana, and we were assisting her in Wisconsin, and I was referring her to some of our agencies in Michigan. But throughout the call, she just said, everybody that I've talked to here in Wisconsin, everybody's been not only just friendly, but has been a resource and been able to answer questions and not push the buck. So I think that speaks testaments to not only those of us that are on the call, but just individuals at your local job center. So as employers, if we can't get the answer for you, we certainly can find the person that will get that answer for you. So just please engage with us or somebody at your local job center. Okay, next slide. So one of the unique things about some of the services that we provide, for our FSET job seekers. And again, FSET stands for Food Share Employment and Training. To be in FSET, you have to be a current food share recipient. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get our individuals that are receiving food share benefits. They're referred to the FSET program, and we want to get them either employed, or we want to train them to get employed and get them job ready. So we have a lot of proprietary programs that we have. One of them is called the Academy, and that has a whole a bunch of different courses that you can access online. It runs the gamut of everything that you could possibly imagine. And then we also recently signed up with LinkedIn Learning. So rather than this being something that an individual has to pay for, our FSET job seekers have access to LinkedIn Learning, which if any of you know that have perused the library there, there's a lot of really neat classes and certifications that are available. We also do individualized resume reviews. You know, we have to teach our clients to be in the best position to market themselves. And sometimes that's having frank discussions about what their skills and abilities may be. Sometimes it's about reconstructing a resume for a specific job. Sometimes it's helping them revamp their resume completely. But it's about building that resume is really talking to that client and getting them to understand what it's going to take for them to be successful. So there's a lot more that goes on to just building that resume and printing it on a piece of paper. Building that resume is also going to be a process that's going to help them interview better. It's going to help them understand what their skills and abilities are so that they can convey that information to you as an employer. So the individualized resume review is a big part of what we do. One of the other things that we do is a Career Accelerate program. It's a Google Suite based evidence-informed job readiness curriculum. So this was currently called our Roadmaps to Success, but it is a curriculum. Previously, it was about a week long, and it's going to go through all the soft skills and job readiness training so that we can really put our job seekers in the best position for them to be successful when talking to you, and simple other life skills that many of us would just take for granted. But sometimes if we've had individuals come into our classroom that recently were laid off and they've had the same job for 20 years, that job relocated, and they don't know what to do. They don't know what the next step is. So just going back to square one, learning how to interview, learning how to create that resume, what the landscape is now for job searching, and what the expectations are. A lot of that stuff gets covered in the Career Accelerate. One of the other neat things is that we also utilize, I don't know if you're familiar with WooFound, but it's called Tradeify now. But it's a unique image-based skills assessment, and I would encourage you all to kind of take a peek at that and see if you're actually doing the job that you selected that you should be doing. It's kind of interesting to kind of go through that and see if it validates what you're really doing your dream job. Equus Talent Market is basically a CRM for our job seekers. It allows us to communicate instantly with them, send job leads. They can upload their resumes so that our job developers and case managers can quickly make assessments and screen potential pools of individuals for jobs. Customized skills training is basically part of it is the CNA training. Our clients come to us and say, "Hey, I want a healthcare career." We look at them, we pre-screen, we look at their abilities. Are they going to be able to, if they get the CNA training, are they going to be able to be a CNA? Or are there barriers that are going to prohibit them from reaching that? So we have that frank discussion with them, and we look to see what it is that they want to do, and we try to figure out the best path in order to get them to that place where they're going to be successful. One of the unique things about our program is we really try hard to, it's not a cookie cutter approach. We work with each individual person, and based on their needs, we try to meet them where they're at. And we try to address those barriers that are going to prevent them from finding success. And I think Erica touched on that. A lot of the things that we do, providing scrubs for supportive services, bus passes for individuals that have a difficulty with transportation, work experience for individuals that are just need to fulfill some hours. And then lastly, the HSE GED. We have a very strong relationship with the YWCA down here in Milwaukee and Racine. And we've been very, very successful in getting many individuals back on track with their high school education and their GED. And I would say that's one of the highlights of our program down here has been that relationship that we have with the YWCA. Now, as far as employers are concerned, again, we are embedded at the local job centers. We try to avail ourselves to all the different agencies. We engage with all the different agencies. We work hand in hand with them. And if you want the single point of contact, and I know much of the focus right now at DWD is to provide that single point of contact so that employers aren't bombarded with many different agencies knocking on the door. We are happy to be that. We report our information to the local office. But if you just want to stay abreast of what's going on, if you want to know anything about the next job fair that's coming up, we're happy to provide that information for you. If you'd like to schedule a recruitment event or on-site job fair at one of the local job centers, once those become available again, we would be happy to facilitate that for you as well. And again, the job seeker referrals. So the more we know about your company, the more we know about you as an employer, the more that we can sell your company to our job seekers. And it allows us to do a better job of pre-screening those individuals for work at your location. And finally, the advocacy is the biggest thing. I think it's just, again, knowing more about what it is that you do. Your company allows us to go out there and to share the things that you have going on, the openings that you have with our clients and other agencies as well. So if I'm talking with somebody and they send me a resume, it may not be from FSET that we're going to send that job seeker referral. It may be from another company. So the more we know about you, the more top of mind it is for us. Please, if you have job leads, please send them to us. And we will not only share that with our client base, but we share that with our partners as well. And we are very, very committed to providing that level of communication, the back and forth, as best as we can. And so we look forward to continuing that with some of our partners, and for those that are going to be new, I look forward to developing that with you.
Great. And then here's our all your contact info, or all the different websites that people can learn more about Equus on. And yeah, Bobby, I mean, I already have learned something new from your presentation. I had no idea that you guys were also involved in Milwaukee County with all of those different programs. So does that mean that our employers who may be with us today who are located in Milwaukee County can also contact you regarding those other programs?
We can talk offline about that. I'm not sure with if the FSET referrals, and obviously that would need to go through Maximus. But through the WIO program, we're able to do certain things, and then the TMJ, we may be able to provide some information to those individuals. It just really, it kind of expands our reach in that the client base that we may be able to kind of glean on for individuals that might want a healthcare career.
Yeah, it's just really interesting to see how the FSET connection through WisCaregiver Careers really gets leveraged by all these other relationships and programs that you all are involved in, and how it's not just fishing out of the FSET pool, it's the broader community that you're engaged with. And
But I think, I think that others, especially Erica, can appreciate the fact that the more you know about the different programs, the more you can leverage some of those resources, because there's no question that sometimes those resources run lean, and you're forced to, go to a different pool or try to, try to figure out a way to still solve that problem when the go-to fix isn't there.
Yeah. And I'm sure, as all of our nursing home employers on this call have experienced, the more pools to fish out of when it comes to CNA staffing, the better. So it's really nice to hear that there's so much out there and how much you're working with people. I mean, even just to get them job ready and then providing these referrals of folks who have already gotten services and support and training and education through your agencies. It just makes them all the more ready, job ready, and primed for success.
And I will say that, and I encourage everybody to visit our website. We are very proud of it. And, clicking for any potential referrals, if you know of anybody that you think might benefit from being on FSET and being engaged with us in our area, to have them click on that Start Now button and to fill out the little jot form, and we'll collect that information and we'll reach back out to them and do a quick assessment and eligibility check to see if we can get them enrolled right then and there.
Great. So yeah, so that yellow Start Now button is where we want to have people go to for the reverse referrals that we have.
Yes.
So great. Thank you so much, Bobby. That was great.
My pleasure.
So here's our training provider who signed up in the Equus service area. Like I mentioned, if you've got another training provider that you like working with, that you'd like to bring on board with WisCaregiver Careers, I'm always happy to call your preferred provider. Quick note about our provider in southwestern Wisconsin, serving Rock, Greene, Lafayette, Grant, Iowa, and Richland counties. The FSET service provider in that area is the Southwestern Wisconsin Workforce Development Board. That's a really great partnership to have because they are so plugged in to all the different workforce programs, including FSET, WIOA, Youth Apprenticeship, Wisconsin Senior Employment Program, and Ticket to Work, amongst, I'm sure, many others that I failed to list here. But yes, and at the end of our presentation, we'll have the contact information for the FSET program manager, who can also connect you to all these other wonderful programs that they support. The training provider in this area is Quality CNA Training out of New Glarus. Again, if you've got other ones you'd like to work with, I'm only ever a phone call away to get them signed up. Milwaukee County, as Bobby had mentioned, is served by the agency Maximus, who have got a lot of great services as well. One thing I did want to mention is that the FSET services are pretty consistent across the state. So the childcare assistance, the transportation assistance, the scrubs and other required items for work purposes, all of the FSET service providers would be able to assist the people that they refer to you with those job retention services, and it's very similar and consistent across the state, regardless of who your provider is. We currently don't have any training providers signed up in Milwaukee County, but again, happy to reach out. And would also like to mention that we are hosting a webinar next week about how to start up or revamp your in-house CNA training program. Part of our mission at WisCaregiver Careers is to try to make CNA training easier to access. And as part of that goal, we want to empower employers to train their CNA workforce in-house. Employer-provided CNA training has several recruitment and retention advantages, including teaching your company values and priorities from square one and recruiting from a wider pool of applicants. So please, if you can, join us to connect with training providers who can help you bring CNA training in-house, or to refresh your program offerings if you already have a program. You can learn more about the 75-hour program configurations that are now available under a change under state law. And you can ask questions and get advice about how to adapt your existing CNA training curriculum to this new 75-hour course structure. And you can connect further with WisCaregiver Careers to help support you to get your program approved by the state. So yeah, that's part of our mission, and we want to support you if you're interested in having CNA training in-house. So I'd like to move on and talk about our reimbursement process. This is really where the rubber meets the road for WisCaregiver Careers. So like I mentioned previously, we provide a $655 reimbursement for training expenses. Okay, students must complete at least 24 hours of training in order to be reimbursed. Okay, and this is a flat rate reimbursement, which includes all costs of training, including your criminal background check. There's no separate itemization for that expense. And we have that same flat rate reimbursement regardless of whether you're a 75-hour training program, a 120-hour program, or anywhere in between or above. It's always $655. And then for the CNA certification exam, we reimburse the full $125 that it costs for folks to take that test. We do have a limited budget for retests should a WisCaregiver not pass their first time around. However, because this budget is so limited, we are not able to reimburse when somebody does not show up for their scheduled exam. So again, keep that in mind while you're working with your WisCaregivers and getting them ready to take that exam. We just want to make sure that they truly are ready to do it and can make the test date. So in order to get reimbursed, you will fill out our invoice template that we will provide to you, and you will submit your supporting documentation, which I will go over in just a moment. In terms of timing, you will submit your invoice once the training and testing is complete so that we can invoice that one individual all at once, not just first the training and then the testing. We can just do everything for that person all at once. So after they're done testing, or if the person fails or withdraws from training and you know for sure that they're not going to move forward. You could also have an individual finish training and then decline moving on to certification. So you can also reimburse or invoice that person once training is complete. Basically, it's you want to invoice your trainee once you know they're fully done with the program, either all the way through training and testing, failing out, or completing testing or completing training and not moving on to testing. So a little bit about the documentation. I think probably the trickiest part of WisCaregiver Careers is getting a handle on the documentation that's required for the invoicing. But once you get the hang of it, I promise it's not as hard as it seems. So for each individual that you want to get reimbursed, okay, they need to show up on our invoice form. There'll be two tabs on it's an Excel spreadsheet. There's one tab for CNA training and one tab for CNA testing. So you just want to make sure that you add that person to each tab as appropriate. For your matching funds, the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development requires us to substantiate our matching fund contributions. So they want to see proof that this is a real person who had a real job. It's not something that we're pulling out of thin air. So they would like to see some sort of documentation that this person actually earned these wages. A pay stub works well, but they don't limit it to that. They said that you can also run a payroll report if you have like a HR system, payroll system, as long as the trainee's name is on there, the wage that they were paid or the full amount that they were paid, the pay period dates, and the hours worked. So again, if we're reimbursing you for your CNA certification exam, the state wants to see proof that this was actually a real cost for a real person. So they want to see proof of purchase for the CNA exam. I know employers do this differently across the spectrum. Some employers will pay for the certification exam, like using a company credit card or a company account, in which case that you could just provide your company's receipt. Other employers will reimburse the employee. They'll have the employee pay for the test up front and then pay them back. So if you do it that way, we'd either need to see the check that the individual received or even the reimbursement request form that the trainee submitted to the company in order to get reimbursed. We'll need proof of the CNA certification outcome if the person is successful. That could be their registration number. It could be a printout from TMU showing their certification dates. And then last but not least, we require the Wisconsin Fast Forward data form, which I'll get into some more details about that. Again, that's just data that Wisconsin Fast Forward requires us to provide for each trainee in order to substantiate that these are real human beings going through training, and also so that they can track outcomes associated with the grant funding. A note about failed or withdrawn from training, trainees who either leave the program because they can't meet the academic requirements or withdraw for whatever reason. Like I mentioned in our goals section, we can reimburse a maximum of 75 failed or withdrawn trainees across the entire program. Trainees must have completed at least 24 hours of training in order to be reimbursed. And we can reimburse a maximum of 15% of failed and withdrawn trainees per employer. So for every 6 people who complete training, we can reimburse 1 failed or withdrawn trainee. Okay, so I'd also like to touch on this concept of personally identifiable information because it is required by our Wisconsin Fast Forward grant. So PII, personally identifiable information, as healthcare employers, I'm sure you are working with personally identifiable information in the HIPAA context on a daily basis. So it shouldn't be a new concept to you, but we just like to cover what it is. It's information that can be used to distinguish or trace an individual's identity, and if fallen into the wrong hands, could be used for all sorts of nefarious purposes, such as opening fake bank accounts or credit accounts. So the point on this is that whenever we're working with this personally identifiable information, it's really important that we ensure that the data remains secure. I mention it here because our Wisconsin Fast Forward grant requires us to provide personally identifiable information of our trainees as part of their invoice process, which means that we will then need to collect this data from you as part of your invoice process with WisCaregiver Careers. DWD requires this information so that they can track employment outcomes with the grant program and for program evaluation purposes. So let's take a look at the kind of data that DWD requires. As you can see on this slide, we have a lot of demographic information as well as wages before and after training. This is so that DWD can assess what sorts of employment outcomes, including wage gains, that are associated with the training dollars that they've granted us. DWD provides these lovely forms for its grantees to use, but as I mentioned, since these forms contain PII, including social security numbers and dates of birth, we want to avoid transmitting these forms over an unsecured platform such as email. So as a result, we've moved this data collection process to the cloud through a secured form service. So the only time that you'll be actually providing personally identifiable information to us at WisCaregiver Careers is through this online trainee data form, which is hosted through the Microsoft Forms application. I've been assured by our IT manager of engineering that this application is secured according to Microsoft standards. It's HIPAA compliant, so it has a very high level of security associated with it. And in order for you to be able to get into this form, there is a link within the How to Invoice guide that I will be sending to you upon the conclusion of this webinar. So the form takes about 5 minutes or less to complete per trainee. Again, this is the only time that you will be providing personally identifiable information to us. If there happens to be personally identifiable information on any of the forms of documentation that you want to send to us, like the payroll report, you can just go ahead and redact that information, because again, anytime we are emailing these type of information, we just want to make sure that any personally identifiable information is not being transmitted over an unsecured or unencrypted platform. So next steps. First off, you want to identify who in your building is going to be the point of contact for CNA referrals from FSETs, as well as the invoice process. With the invoice process, a lot of times it's like the business office manager, and for the CNA referrals, it's somebody in HR. A representative from your local FSET will be reaching out to you to gather the details of who your point of contact for referrals is going to be, get some more information about how you want to structure your application process. Is there a paper form you want them to fill out? Is there an online portal you want them to go to? Is there a background check form that you'd like them to process? Do you want a resume? Do you not? So all those details, the FSET representative will cover with you in order to gather that info so that they can help beat the bushes to get more applicants interested in your vacancies. They'll also collect information about how you want to structure your training. Do you do your training in-house? Are you going to partner with a tech college or a private provider, or what your process is going to be? So yeah, so look out for those emails, follow-up emails either from Bobby or Erica. If you're in Milwaukee, you'll be hearing from Maximus, and if you are in the Southwest Wisconsin territory, you'll be hearing from the Southwest Wisconsin Workforce Development Board. I will be sending out an email with the recording from today's presentation, the slides from today's presentation, and my guide to invoicing. And then all you have to do is prepare your first invoice of any CNAs that you've trained since July 2020. And you should submit your invoice along with your documentation to me. One point I did want to really clarify with the July 2020, our grant funding period started in July 2020. So anybody that you've trained since that period of time is eligible for funding. And so you should feel free to send them on over to me, and we'll get you your reimbursement. So with that, we still have a few more minutes left in our hour to take any questions that you may have, or hear any final words of wisdom from Erica and Bobby. So if you do have a question, please feel free to type it into the Q&A box on your Zoom interface. So while we're waiting for those questions to come in, I just want to thank Bobby and Erica and Faith and Gina for being with us here today. Again, every time I hear about the services and the supports that you provide the workforce, it just makes me more excited about our partnership with you. And I just really hope that our employers on this call can connect with you and get those employment pipelines going. You know, as I was hearing you talk about the different, like Bobby, I think you had mentioned in your presentation that you do career fairs, and I would love to partner with you to try to host a WisCaregiver careers specific fair down in your area. And Erica, same thing for you. So yeah, I mean, this partnership really is what our employers want to make of it. And so if you as employers have ideas on how we can leverage our relationships with FSET, leverage the power of WisCaregiver careers, we really want to make this program work for you. So, so just know that we're here. We want to hear how this program can work better for you, and just make the most out of this fantastic opportunity that we've gotten with this Fast Forward grant that we have. So I'm not seeing any questions coming through. I guess we were just so thorough, Erica and Bobby, that no one's got questions. So with that, I'm seeing it's about 2:30 right now. So if there aren't any questions, I think we can wrap it up. Again, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to Erica and Bobby and Faith and Gina, and look forward to working with you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Bye, everybody.